I always wanted to be a mum. I didn't really have any ambition growing up. I just wanted to be a mum. And I don't know why.
It means a lot, you know. Well, I couldn't imagine being without any of them.
Well, you get happiness, you get sadness, and you just have to go along with it.
I spent a lot of time with my grandparents because my mum was very young when she had me. So for the first 5 years of my life, I basically lived with my nan and granddad. Then I moved in with mum. I don't have much recollection of that. We moved into a flat, and soon after that she met Dallas, and he had a daughter as well called Zoe. And then at some point Amber and Paul came along and we moved to Kings Lynn.
My upbringing was pretty good, to be fair. My parents were quite supportive of me, my children, looking after them. You know, we didn't go without anything as a child. There was nothing, if you wanted something, if it was something that they say, yes, you can have that, then you get it.
Well, I had 5 brothers, so it was a bit rough. I was the 3rd one. I came after Malcolm and between Graham. I'm Betty Crowson. I'm 88. I have 3 children. There was Jane, June and Neil.
My name's Jane Skipper. I am 66 years old. I have 3 children, Zoe, Amber and Paul.
I am Zoe Fullerton. I'm 50 years old. I have 3 children, Charlie Hardy, Isabel Hardy and Ada Fullerton. I think because I was so badly bullied, I wanted to be a mum because I wanted someone that would love me for me. That was what being a mum was about, was that you could love your child and they would love you back unconditionally. I didn't really know what I was doing. I felt very out of control, which I never thought I would. And I had other issues as an early mother as well. I had depression and things like that, and all of that impacted on my mothering skills. And I didn't have a very supportive partner. Whereas being an older mum, I've got knowledge of what it is to be a mum. I've had children who have grown up and left home, so I've been through all the stages of a child's life. Whereas an older parent, I didn't have financial worries when Ada came along. I had a really supportive partner. My partner and I have very similar views, so being an older mum is easier in a lot of senses. I definitely think it's more advantageous being an older parent than a younger one.
Is Mum's taking you to bed? You sleep well?
Yeah, come on, let's go!
Oh, I was 16, I got pregnant. It weren't planned, obviously. It was my first ever time, if you see what I mean. Yeah, I just went with the flow every day. Went to work, supported Zoe, brought her up the best I could until we got our own place, and then we moved away and came to Kings Lynn. Yeah, being a mum, it makes you aware of things around you and the situation in the world for your kids and how you're going to bring them up, and hopefully they'll learn from you and any mistakes you might have made, so they don't make them. But yeah, being a mum is rewarding.
You just went along with it. Just got on with it. My mum, yeah, she used to help a lot, and that's it. We used to stick sort of together and help, you know, to bring them up. If you got tired, she'd take over and look after them. When I'd got Jane, she was 5 when by the time I had June, and she come and looked after them. And then it was the same when I had Neil. She looked after them then, and that's the help we used to get.
Motherhood is not for everybody, I don't think, you know, irrespective. But for me, I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Mum was only 15 when she fell pregnant with me. Didn't find out till she was 6 months. I don't believe she told Nan and Grandad till she was 8 months. And then she told my Nan and Grandad, or they found out, I'm not really sure. And Nan and Grandad apparently had discussed putting me up for adoption. I'm going to have to put up for adoption. It's not the done thing. She's not married. She's not with, she's too young.
We said when we found out that she was pregnant, we said, you're not keeping it, because at her age and that. And when we talked to the midwife, she says, oh, there's nothing to be ashamed of. She says, I've just had one who's 11-year-old.
Remember the time that Zoe was almost put up for adoption?
What?
And how did you settle on navigating a child so young? And do you not remember that?
No. They couldn't have made that decision for me. That would have been my decision. But I can't remember that coming up in conversation. It was probably behind closed doors.
Nanny mentioned it to her dad, my granddad Frank, and apparently Grandad Frank said, Betty, if you're going to put this baby up for adoption, you need to think long and hard, because you will have to think about your grandchild being adopted for the rest of your life, and you won't know where she is, who she's with, if she's had a good life.
We thought about it and thought, well, no. She can keep her, because we don't know who she'd be adopted to and what sort of life would she have.
Nanny Peterborough told me that everything was ready to go for the adoption until Grandad Frank said that.
So we just kept her. We looked after her while Jane went to work.
It's hard. There's no book. There's no right or wrong way. You just have to do your best. Love your child and do your best. You can't promise them the world. You can't promise them a great life. You can't promise them private schools and privileges and all the money in the world. But as long as a child has security and love and they're fed and clothed, you can't give them anything else. What I've come to realise with kids is you can influence them to a certain age, and then society starts to influence them on top of your influences. So this is why they turn out so different. And every child's mind is different. Perhaps when Charlie and Izzy were younger and I was younger, I didn't do it the same as I've done it this time round. But it's not because I loved them any less. It's just because my circumstances were different.
Because you don't know what they're going to do. The older they get, the worse they get. Because my mother always used to say to me, when you're babies, you know where you are. But when you're growing up, you never know what you're going to do and where you are. And that's how you just went with the flow. I'm the oldest one of the family at the moment. I've got my daughter, my granddaughter and my great-grandchildren. So
It's good having a few generations, because you learn a lot and you do forget things, and then something will pop up and they'll say, oh, remember this, remember that? No, and then they'll explain, oh yeah.
And it shouldn't be an expectation, because nobody knows what life holds. I always expected Mum would still be here because there's only 16 years between us. But I'm very lucky that Nanny's still here, because Nanny is 88. Yeah, that's a good age. What do I hope for future generations in the family? That they don't get overwhelmed by social media, by technology, and that my oldest children and youngest children's children still get to be kids and not just sit in front of a screen all their life.
And if there's something you want, work for it or save for it. Just do what you want for you. The future, you can't tell what the future's going to bring, really, to be fair. But just go with your gut.
carry on as they normally do, but don't get yourself into trouble. Just keep on the straight and narrow.
Life changes you as you get older. The food you like at the age of 20, you won't like when you're 40. Or you'll like things at 40 that you wouldn't even look at when you were 20. And it's the same with parenting. You gain knowledge as you go through life and as you experience different experiences, and that's why it changes you. So parenting is hard. That's all I can say, and it's hard for anyone, no matter who you are.